Hi everybody, this is Kefren, your favorite French Canadian. Today I'm going to show you how to boost your FPS in Titan Quest 2. We're going to start by optimizing Windows, and after that we're going to take a look on your Radeon and NVIDIA settings. Also, we're going to make sure that you're using the latest version of DLSS 4, and at the end we will go inside of the game. So now for Windows, we're going to start by writing settings, and we're going to go to the settings of Windows 11. We're gonna start by gaming over there. So the first one is game bar. This one I really recommend to deactivate it. It's causing issue and also you're losing some FPS with it. Except if you have a Ryzen CPU, the 7900X3D or the 7950X3D. They're using the game bar to prioritize your CCD when you're playing video games. So super important to use that if you have those processors. If you have any other processor, just deactivate it. After that, we're going to go to graphic. We're going to change default graphic setting over there. Make sure that your hardware accelerated GPU scheduling is at on. Super important to do that. We're going to go to gaming again, capture, make sure that everything is deactivated like this. So you want to save all your resources. And the last one is game mode. Now game mode honestly is really, really good. Back then with Windows 10, it was a bit sketchy and a lot of like stuttering issue, but now you really need to using it to make sure that all your resources are prioritizing your video games. Another thing that I recommend, we're going to go to system, is your power. Back then, we were recommending to use the best performance, but now, honestly, just use balance. You will have better boost clock, longer boost clock. I did a couple of benchmark, balance versus best performance, and honestly, I'm getting better result with balance. So super important to do that. Another thing I want to mention is some recommendations. So make sure that your XMP profile is activated if you have it on your BIOS. Super important. Make sure that you download the latest chipset driver for your CPU if you have an AMD or Intel. Also, make sure that you update your BIOS to make sure that you have all the latest update from your CPU or your motherboard provider. Make sure that you have your Windows update up to date. And the last one is also make sure that you have the latest driver from your GPU. So if you have an NVIDIA card, Radeon, or Intel, super important. They always push new update and they optimize a lot of stuff in it. For NVIDIA, so first of all, go to your Titan Quest 2. In the DLSS override over there, make sure that you're using the latest one and apply. Right now I can do it because it's already applied. You're going to make sure that NVIDIA will always push the latest version of DLSS so you don't have to wait on the developer. So you will have always the DLSS 4 version, the latest one. So super important to do that. In global setting, what I normally recommend is your low latency, put it at on. Max frame rate, I like to lock my FPS at 237 FPS because I have a 240 Hz monitor that I'm running G-Sync. So for example, if I'm running a game at 241, I'm going to lose the G-Sync on my monitor. So that's why I lock my FPS at 237. I always do -3 for my FPS. So for example, if you have a 144 Hz monitor, lock at 141. Shader cache side, by default, normally it's 5 gig if I remember correctly from NVIDIA. Put 10 or 100 if you have the space on your disk drive. When you install a lot of different games, you will always have to reconstruct your cache size if you don't have the space in your folder. Sometimes you're getting some corruption for your cache, stuttering, stuff like that. So it's always good to have more space for this one. In the system section, if you want to use your G-Sync, activate it. Select the screen that you want to activate it. Make sure also on your monitor, your G-Sync is activate. In the display properties, refresh rate, I recommend to go with your maximum. I know a lot of people, they're buying a high refresh rate monitor, but by default, it's at 60 with Windows. So always use the maximum one and make sure that you're playing native with your resolution. For the color, if you have an HDR monitor or a monitor that's compatible with 10 bits, make sure that you're selecting 10 bits. But again, Windows will push 8-bit by default, and make sure that your dynamic range is at full. Also, I like to put a little bit of digital vibrance. It's pretty much the same thing for saturation. I like to put +5. The game looks less gray, and also you're getting a little bit more saturation to your color. The last one is your performance. Power maximum, I like to put it at max at 133. So you're gonna put more wattage to your card. Boost clock are a little bit longer, so normally I can get 5 to 7% boost in my FPS, but you will need the space on your card. So, you know, the boost clock is based on an algorithm based from NVIDIA. So if, for example, if you have bad thermal, you're already at 82 degrees, it will not change anything, just stay at 100. But if you know that you have the space on your card and all your stats are pretty decent when you're playing a game, definitely go a little bit higher with your power maximum. That's about it for NVIDIA, so now let's go to Radeon. So now for Radeon card, we're gonna go to settings, display first. Make sure that you're using your FreeSync. If you have a monitor compatible with it, you're gonna make sure that you're gonna synchronize your GPU with your monitor, so really important to use that. After that, we're gonna go to gaming in the graphics section. Make sure that you're using the custom profile, so don't use those presets over there. Make sure that you're selecting your GPU. In my case, it's a 9070 XT. Don't use your integrate GPU. It can be tricky if you're playing on a laptop or even a desktop like me that has an integrate GPU. After that, the first one that you will need to look at is your FSR 4 that you can force in some game that it's using FSR 3. This one, it's not necessarily everybody will have it. It really depends if your card is compatible with it. So definitely enable it if you have it. Also, I want to mention if you're playing in a game that doesn't have FSR, doesn't have frame generation, and you're struggling with your FPS, fluid motion frame can be a nice option over there. You activate it, you're going to get like 30 to 30% boost. It will add input lag, so don't use that if you're playing a competitive game, but this one can help with older game. Don't use anti-lag 1. This one is not good. Don't use a Radeon Boost. Radeon Chill, I really recommend to use it, and I will explain you why. So for an example, in my case, right now I have a 170 Hz monitor, and to stay in your FreeSync range, you need to produce less than 170 FPS. So my recommendation is take your amount of Hertz on your monitor. In my case, it's 170. Do -3 and lock your FPS at 167. You can do the same thing if you have a 240 Hz monitor. Go with 237. So you're always going to make sure that you stay in your FreeSync range. It's better for the fluidity of your image. And also, really important, if you want less input lag, you need to make sure that your GPU is not at 100% utilization. So 98, 97, something like that. So sometimes it's good to just lock your FPS. Again, it depends on the game. Maybe in some game, 167 FPS will be 100% utilization for me. So you can go maybe a little bit lower. You can also do it per game. Right now in the graphics section, I'm doing it for all my games on my computer. But sometimes, I don't know, you're playing the new Assassin's Creed, just go to Assassin's Creed and you can lock your FPS over there if you want. So really important to do that for your utilization, but also to make sure that you're staying in your FreeSync range. Another thing that I want to mention, image sharpening 2 can be nice if you don't add FSR in game or a sharpness slider. So if you're playing an old game or a game that just have like TAA and the game is very blurry, activate this and move your slider between something 60 to 70% depending on your preference, and it will really help to have a better image quality. Last thing that I want to mention, if you have some random stuttering and you don't know why, this option at the end can be really nice. It resets your shader cache, so you just perform a reset. And after that, when you will reopen your game, it will just rebuild your shader. Sometimes it can take time, so don't go too crazy if your game is lagging, but it can help. I saw a lot of person having this issue with Call of Duty, so this one can really help you. So this is pretty much it, guys. Make sure that you have the latest version of your driver, and also have a dedicated drive on how to overclock your GPU. For me, it gives me 12% boost in my FPS without too much effort, so you can definitely look at my guide. So now let's go in the game. So window mode, I really recommend to go with full screen. This is the mode with the best FPS and less input lag. Make sure that you're native in resolution. And I don't like to use vertical sync because it adds input lag in the game. You should use some like G-Sync or FreeSync to make sure that your GPU is synchronized with your monitor to remove those steering lines. Camera shake, I'm not a fan of this effect, so I just deactivate it. After that, we're going to upscaling technique. For sure, we're going to start with DLSS. This is pretty much the best option that you can have right now if you have an NVIDIA card. So definitely quality or balance. Quality, you can expect 10% boost, balance 16, and honestly balance is pretty good with DLSS 4. Balance is better than quality from DLSS 3, so that can be a good thing to use if you want a nice image quality and also a good boost in your FPS. After that, you can force the preset K if you want, but you're already forcing it with the NVIDIA app, so if you're doing that, you don't need to do this over there. After that, frame generation, in my case, I have a 4000 series, so I can do 2x, and honestly, I don't like it. I feel the input lag in this game with the frame generation, so this is pretty much the last resort. I'm not a fan of it. And the reflex NVIDIA, put this one at on. If you have a Radeon card, Intel, or even NVIDIA if you want, you have FSR 3.1. It's not that great. I recommend to go with quality. You're going to get 8% to 10% boost in your FPS, but it doesn't look good if you compare it with DLSS. My recommendation, honestly, I have a dedicated video that I just released. Look at it. You can force the XESS with DLSS swapper, the new version, the 2.1, and at quality or even ultra quality, that it looks a lot better than FSR 3.1, and it will work for Radeon or Intel card. So definitely this one is a good add-on to the game. I hope they're gonna push the frame generation, because you can also do frame generation with XESS, and it's better than FSR 3.1. Now let's go to the settings. So if you're using an upscaling technique, your anti-aliasing will be grayed out. I like to put the background FPS at 30 because when you're alt tab, you don't want to have crazy thermals. Global illumination, shadow, I recommend to go with medium with both. You can expect 12% boost in your FPS. If you're struggling to run the game, you're at currently 20, 25 FPS, go with low, you will have to do it. But the game looks flat under medium. Anti-aliasing off, and anyway you're not running it. View distance, this one can be a tricky to run. Don't go far or epic, just run medium. And if you're struggling with your FPS, go with near. For the texture, if you have 6 gig and more on your VRAM on your GPU, go with epic. 4 gig high, 3 gig medium, less than 3 gig, go with low. Effect and reflection, those one I really recommend to go with low if you want to stabilize your FPS. You can expect a nice 6% boost, but it's more about stabilizing your FPS. So definitely go with low for those one. Post-processing, I recommend to go with medium. And the last one, animation quality, you can run high easily, except if you have a really old CPU. But normally you should be fine with this preset. So this is pretty much it, guys. If you have any question about the Titan Quest 2, just comment in the YouTube section, post me your rig, CPU, GPU, and RAM. I will try to help you the best that I can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Peace.